I'll keep doubling, you keep bluffing, you've got nothing, I'll keep hustling.
How's it, guys? Welcome to another Crypto EMC edition, where today we're going to be asking ourselves the big question. Is the bottom really in? We've got this crypto narrative going out that's, it's potentially bottom time and people are feeling very optimistic. But we have a looming question. We know that through historical data, when the Fed pivots, and I'm going to bring up my screen real quick, when the Fed pivots, we normally find that the real recession and the real market crash is only happening afterwards. So instead of me and Lee debating this today, we've got a special guest with us, Alessio Rastani, and he's going to be showing us his thoughts and sharing us his thoughts on this in the next few minutes. So welcome, Alessio, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Good to be here. Thanks a lot.
Awesome, buddy. So I'm going to quickly just refer back to my screen, and I want to ask you a few questions, and let's quickly see who's live here. There's already a couple of guys live. So what we do is we normally do these things live every day. So one thing, I don't have to edit the video afterwards. And another thing is, if we do it live, it's kind of in the moment. So, we don't really need to try and sugarcoat or polish what we do or say. So what I'm going to do is when we look at our screen here, and I want to zoom in for you guys. And as you can see, after every Fed pivot, now the big question that everybody's going to ask is what is a Fed pivot? This is normally when the Fed changes its policy from increasing rates to decreasing rates. The history shows us that once that happens, that is normally thereafter when the recession starts kicking in. Alessio, you actually did a video on this as well, explaining this a while ago. But the question that I actually want to ask you is, and this is the pressing one, is we're sitting in a situation where a lot of crypto influencers and a lot of people in general are saying that, well, potentially the bottom is in. But now if we look at this and the fact that the Fed is still not even close to a pivot and we haven't really had this, what is your feeling on this? Is this really the case of a bottom being in? And how would this play out?
Okay, well, let me know if you can hear me okay.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Basically, the way I'm seeing it at the moment. Great. So I'm not a fundamentals guy. I look at statistics, I look at technicals, but I don't go with the mainstream common sense, shall we say, narrative, which where people, I think it's a rather, I think you may agree with me on this, that I think it's generally a mistake to draw conclusions or common sense conclusions from what the Federal Reserve is going to do to how the market is going to react. And this is unfortunately a mistake. So often a lot of people tend to misunderstand. They think that there's a rational, logical relationship between what the Federal Reserve does, or what the fundamentals are, or what the news is, or what the economy is, and they think there's a rational relationship, a logical relationship between those things and what the market does. Not at all correct. So, for example, you can have the market doing one thing and yet the economy doing something completely the opposite. Or you can have the Federal Reserve doing one thing and the market doing the opposite of what everyone expects. So for example, the Federal Reserve has been hiking interest rates, raising rates, and yet we've seen so far since October of last year, the market has been rising despite the increase in rates. And I've said in my videos, look, I said that if the people who think that when the Federal Reserve pivots and changes their mind and then they start cutting rates, and so a lot of people think that when the Federal Reserve starts cutting rates, when they pivot, that is the moment when the market will start to explode higher and go much higher. Actually, history shows that's not the case. History shows that by the time the Federal Reserve pivots and starts cutting rates, there's already been a rally in the market. So the market often, when I say the market, I mean stock market here. So yes, usually the stock market tends to rally and go up way before, months before the Federal Reserve starts to pivot and cut rates. So there is not this exact positive correlation or relationship. There is no logic or rationality here. So I think people will be disappointed. And also, I think people need to remember that the stock market and Bitcoin are positively correlated. They have a positive relationship, a positive correlation. So I think the stock market needs to remain strong if Bitcoin is also going to remain strong for the next several months and then for the remainder of this year. So that's very important. You cannot have the stock market going down and then the Bitcoin going up significantly higher. And usually they go in the same direction in the long term, in the medium to long term. So although having said that, Bitcoin can go up several 100%. The stock market may go up by 10, 20%, but Bitcoin can go up much higher than that. And the same in the downward direction as well. So stock market may drop 10, 20%, Bitcoin can go down several 100%. Sorry, what I mean is that Bitcoin can go down by 50 or more, 70 or 80%. So the degree, what I'm talking about, the degree of the
extremities of these
percentages will vary. Exactly, the extremities will vary, but the general direction is approximately the same. Yeah. So what was the other question you were asking?
So this rally, so basically this rally that we're looking at now, it can almost be seen, or would you agree on the idea that it's almost the stock market pricing themselves ready for the next big short, in a sense? That if this potential pivot occurs at some stage, everybody, the general public, would be then flipping into a narrative of being really bullish. And that is normally then when the move is exhausted. So can this be them getting in on or preparing themselves for that move? Trying to trade in
Yes, in other words, I think by the time the Federal Reserve starts to pivot or cut rates, which might be at the end of this year, December of this year, or it might be at the beginning of next year, by that time, it'll be too late to jump into the market. Assuming the market continues to rally and go up, by the time the Federal Reserve starts to cut rates, sorry, I'm getting a message that says lost connection. Can you?
We can still hear you beautifully. Now the message is there. So we've lost connection with Alessio. I think his internet's dropping. You're back. We've got you, buddy.
Okay, I'm back. Okay, great. So all I was saying was I think that by the time the Federal Reserve pivots, the people who will jump in at that point probably are jumping in too late. And usually at that point, the market's topping. So I had a chart which I showed in my videos. I think you've seen that video. History shows that by the time the Federal Reserve starts to pivot and cut rates, the market is about to reverse and make a top and go down again. So I think that might be a dangerous time. But that's a separate issue. But I have a couple of charts I can show you about Bitcoin if you like. We can talk about
Please do.
that.
I'm going to bring up your screen and let's discuss this specifically because I mean the way that you're explaining it now is that there is an idea that there's I think it's maybe not wise to say the bottom is in. A bottom might need to still be tested or something, and that would probably be a bottom of some sort. But I think it's that's what I hope you're going to show us in the charts, that there's some longer term. You see some longer term upside for us.
That's right.
So we can see your screen.
I'm going to do my best to explain this.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. You can hear me good?
We can hear you good. See your screen. Everything's good.
Okay. Great. All right. So this is a weekly chart of Bitcoin. And what we can see here is that after the major downtrend we've seen in Bitcoin last year, for most of last year, it looks like Bitcoin has finally managed to get above its 21 weekly moving average, that blue line in my chart. You can see that in the last few weeks, Bitcoin is now above this. Can you see where I'm pointing on my cursor?
Everything,
on the screen?
Everything is nice and clear.
On the right-hand side?
Yes.
Okay. So notice how Bitcoin is now above its 21 weekly moving average. That's a good sign. But the reason why it's a good sign is if you look back in spring of 2022 here, in the spring or March of last year, notice when Bitcoin got above the 21 weekly, it quickly failed after 2-3 weeks. After about a couple of weeks, it failed and dropped down below it again. And that's how you can tell immediately when something is wrong, when it's a bear trap or a false breakout. okay? But if you look over here, we've broken above the 21 weekly, which is a very important resistance level, and we've remained above it for at least 3 weeks. But it looks like at least for 3 weeks, we remained above it. And no failure at present, no failure as yet. And you can see back in 2021 on the left-hand side, when Bitcoin went above it here, it remained above it for several weeks and months before finally went back below it. I don't have the chart of showing you what happened in 2021 and 2020, but the thing to appreciate about this is when the price gets above its 21 weekly and stays above it at least for 3 weeks, that's a sign of strength. It's a positive sign. It could be a sign that we're likely to see further higher levels in the coming weeks and months. So I think it's a very good sign. What I'm saying is a very good sign that so far Bitcoin has remained above its 21 weekly average without any failure, without any drop back below it at the moment. What I would say is, if Bitcoin were to fall below it, and I'm not expecting this, just to let you know, I don't think we're gonna fall below 18K, but I think as long as we stay below 18K, 19K, Bitcoin has a good chance here of continuing this momentum to the upside. I think this is a very good sign, a sign of strength. So I'm going to remain cautiously bullish here on Bitcoin. Now listen, we could have a pullback. I mean, we've had a nice rally. I think we could have maybe a bit of a pullback to the daily averages. We might. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I think a pullback is maybe something that's in order to make this move healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it might pull back and test the November highs, perhaps, like this. That's about 21 or 20, what is that, 22, 21K, 21,500, I think, approximately there. I mean, we might see a pullback in the short term. But after a pullback, I'm still expecting this market to go higher. I'm still expecting Bitcoin price to head higher to at least this orange line in my chart, 27,432, or about 27,400. And the reason is that level is the retracement level. It's a 38.2% Fibonacci retracement. To put it very simply, here's very simple to understand this. Price doesn't always just keep going down. Even in bear markets, you have rallies. You have what's called bear market rallies, or you have retracements. You have counter trend rallies. So what I'm saying is, look, we've had a downtrend, a bear market now for almost a year from the highs of 2021 to the lows of October last year, to the lows of November last year. So I think even if this is a downtrend, even if this is still a bear market, okay, I actually think that we're shifting a little bit more now towards the bullish side. I think we're shifting more now towards a potential reversal and a bullish reversal here. But my point is that even in a downtrend, even in a bear market, you can have sharp, big retracements. And these retracements can often go back and test like the 38.2% retracement level at 27,400. And that I think is quite likely. I think as long as Bitcoin stays above 18K or 19K, there's a good chance, there's a high probability we could test 27,400, okay? And maybe even higher, slightly higher levels, which I'll show you in a few minutes. So that's the first thing. So do I think Bitcoin has bottomed? Do I think Bitcoin has bottomed? It depends what you mean by bottom. If by bottom you mean we're going to go to all-time highs and then to 100K, honestly, I don't know that. It's too early to say that, too early. But could this be an intermediate bottom? Could this be maybe a medium-term bottom that could last several months so we can test some key levels at 27,000 or 30,000? Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing unnatural about that. There's something that's actually perfectly normal. Okay, I'll come back to this chart in a minute, but let me show you one more thing. If we go on the next chart, which is a 2-week time frame, okay, let me show you the next chart. There we go. This is the next chart. Let me expand the screen. Can you see this now?
Awesome. Can see the screen. What would be the significance of the 2-week
time frame? So this is a 2-week chart, the 2-week time frame. That's right. I mentioned this in a previous video. And the 2-week time frame is important because usually when the MACD is this indicator down here. Usually when you see a crossover below zero, when I say below zero, I mean this is the zero line. This is zero. So when you see a MACD crossover like this, when the blue line goes above the red line, that's a sign of a momentum reversal. And that's a good sign, especially when it occurs below the zero line. So this one over here happened a lot higher than zero. I ignore that. I don't look at that.
Yeah.
I look at signals which occur very close to zero or below it. Usually in the past, when this has occurred, it has been a very strong, positive, bullish signal for the price, especially for Bitcoin. In fact, I believe it's never failed before in the past for Bitcoin when there's been a MACD crossover below zero on this chart time frame, on this 2-week chart. So personally, I think this is a very good sign for Bitcoin, this 2-week time frame chart. And this crossover. And as long as Bitcoin can protect and remain above support, as long as it stays above 18K approximately there, I think there's a good chance we could see higher levels on Bitcoin towards these levels. The minimum target I'm looking for, the minimum target is 27,400. But yeah, is it possible we could go higher to the 50% retracement? Absolutely, 32,700. I cannot be sure about the higher levels like 39,000. I cannot be sure of that. But let's see what happens. I mean, all I'm saying is, my point is this. If Bitcoin is going to establish some kind of a counter trend rally or even a bull market, it doesn't have to go to all-time highs. And I don't think we're going to see all-time highs this year. These are the all-time highs near 69,000. I personally don't think it's highs this year. But could we at least make a counter trend rally to these levels, 27,400, 32K? Yeah, absolutely. I think those things are very likely, quite likely, actually, matter of fact. So that's what I'm saying. As long as it stays above 18K or about that region, 18, 19K, I'm going to remain cautiously bullish for a move above those levels, into these levels. Now, could I be wrong? Yeah, I could be wrong. What I mean by that is we always need to appreciate risk and surprises. In other words, the dangerous black swan events. So if Bitcoin were to fall below 18K or 17K, then I will change my mind. I will say, okay, that's fine. I got it wrong. So in other words, if
That's your
Bitcoin were to
invalidation
fall
level,
below
basically.
18K, then it would, yeah, my invalidation point. Well done. Thank you very much. You're absolutely right. So my point is, I'm not expecting a fall or a drop below 18K. My higher probability is actually for a move higher into these, at least the first level, 38.2%. All I'm saying is I need Bitcoin to protect that level, to stay above 18K support, for that probability to remain high for a move to those levels, okay? And the last thing I want to say is this, which is we just go back to that previous chart, and this is something quite important. Last thing I want to say is, if you look back at the previous rallies you've had in the past in Bitcoin, like the one you had in 2022, you will notice something interesting. Unfortunately, I don't have a pen to write on this chart, but you can actually see it for yourself. You will see that these rallies that formed here in 2022, and can you see my cursor where I'm pointing in
Yes.
2022?
Yeah, I can see.
In spring of last year. Yeah. If you notice that rally, it was formed of 3 waves. 1, 2, 3. So notice, one bounce up, one decline lower, and then another higher. 3 waves. When you only get 3 waves, which are symmetrical, usually symmetrical in movement, that's a bad sign. That's a sign of, it's a sign of, could be a correction, because corrective rallies are only 3 waves. Okay, ABC corrective rallies are only 3 waves. And you have to appreciate that when it's only 3 waves, if it's corrective, that means it's less likely to lead to higher movement to all, it's less likely to result to an uptrend. Corrective rallies usually fail and result in a downtrend again, like it did here, as you can see. Again, if you look at the rally you had here in where was this? This was from June to August of last year. Notice this was also a 3-wave rally. One bounce up, one decline, and then a rally. A 3-wave rally, which failed. Okay? And if you look at the rally we've had since the lows of November, well, how many waves can you count so far? I can only count 3. One up. You can see that's the one here from November to December, I think it was.
Yeah, and
Then
a
a
correction.
decline, a small pullback. So that's, correction. So you got 1, 2, and then you got a big wave up here for 3. So far, you've had only 3 waves. So what I need to see to give me confirmation that this is an uptrend is not just 3 waves. Guess how many
That
waves you need?
magical fifth wave. You want to see this retrace, maybe
well done.
potentially a
Absolutely.
bounce, and then try and get that fifth little sneaky little
Correct.
higher high.
You're absolutely right. Well done. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Yeah. So I would need at least to see 5 waves. That's why I need to see a pullback first. And I don't know when the pullback's going to start. I'm hoping it started already. I actually think that as long as Bitcoin stays above I think as long as Bitcoin stays below 24,200, which was the recent highs, I think we'll see a pullback. Hopefully a 4th wave pullback. And then once you break out again, once we see another breakout after a pullback, then you're absolutely right. Then we could have 5 waves. And that would increase the probability. We're seeing a bottom, or at least an intermediate bottom. So I would say I'm still being cautious here. We only have 3 waves up so far, just like the previous rallies. So for me, that's not enough to say. For me, this is not yet enough to say that's a high probability of a bottom. Don't get me wrong here. I think the odds are increasing. The odds and the probabilities are increasing for some kind of an intermediate bottom. But I want to see confirmation. And for confirmation, I want to see not just 3 waves up, I want to see 5 waves up. So that's why I want to see a bit more of a pullback, either from near levels or from slightly higher levels. I just need to see a 4th wave pullback, and I need that pullback to remain above 18K. It mustn't go below 18 or 19K. And then I need to see another rally taking us to 25, 26K, or indeed 27K. If that happens in the next few weeks, and keep an eye on that, if we get that, then guess what? That would increase the probability quite significantly that we're forming an impulsive 5-wave move that actually could increase the probability of a more intermediate, or shall we say, medium term, maybe even a long-term bottom. But it's too early. It's way too early to say that. So let's wait and see what happens.
Well, I have to say, I'm really happy that.
I hope that makes sense.
I
hope that makes sense, by the way.
Absolutely sense. This is a hardcore trade channel, guys. Here, we dive into stuff. We really go deep sometimes, and the fact that you're pointing out that you need to see that higher high is basically where we're at as well. We want to see a higher high because we want to pick up some divergence between where we topped out now at 24 to about an additional one, because that will give us that large time frame correction that you're talking about. That might be another 2-3 weeks of downwards momentum that will complete a first wave set potentially. And that's the wave 1 of a bigger potential move, and that's that winter rally or that mid bear market rally that could then lead us to that. Hopefully, I mean, I'm going to be very optimistic. I want to try and see if we can hit that 618 level on that 2-week chart of yours, purely because historically, and I know Bitcoin can prove us wrong, but historically, through all the other cycles, when we get this winter rally, we actually go to the 618, and in anticipation. And you said it earlier, Bitcoin tends to have a way of overshooting targets. It's a little bit more volatile.
Yes.
Stock markets might go up 5% or 20% for that matter, and Bitcoin will just go and blow everybody out of the water and then do the same on the opposite end. So I'm really excited about that, and I'm really happy.
One more thing I want to mention here is...
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dai. You're absolutely right. You make a good point. And I would agree with you. That would be a very ideal level, the 61.8 you just mentioned. You're absolutely right. One last thing I want to mention here is this. If everyone just looks at this rally you had in 2021, you see this rally, this fake out rally, this bounce you had from 30K to all-time highs. You see 30, that? Yeah. Now, if you look at the waves, that was actually 3 waves too. If you look at this, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that to me was a B wave, which B waves often are bull traps, as we know, and that's a very nice 3-wave rally to my mind. It looks that way, and that's my point is it's always a good clue. Count the waves. How many waves can you see on the chart? So if you're new to Elliott waves, if you're new to chart analysis, a good way to instead of guessing what's happening, always say, okay, how many waves am I looking at here on this chart? Is it 3? Is it 5? That can give you a good indication of what's happening on the chart. So let's see what happens. By the way, I'm very sorry. I apologize. I have to be somewhere in a couple of minutes, but thank you very much. It's been great so far talking with you.
That's awesome. I'm looking forward to spending some more time with you on a later stage, maybe in the future. Alessio, I want to really say thanks for taking the time. and spending some, showing us some of your thoughts. I mean, everybody on this channel, if you want to go and follow Alessio, I'm just going to quickly bring up his details here. So Alessio's got a YouTube channel as well, and his Twitter account, and it's both at Alessio Rastani. So it's on the screen down there, guys. Go and give him a follow, and go check his work out as well. I mean, he's been here way longer than we have. And Alessio, really thank you for taking the time, buddy.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And I see a lot of good comments here coming in from.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's been good talking with you.
It's been awesome, and looking forward to next
thanks
time.
very much
Cheers,
to everyone
buddy.
else.
See you soon again.
Cheers. Thank
buddy.
you very much, everyone. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye for now. Thank you.
Right, guys, that's Alessio. So there you've got an additional opinion on where this can be. So his feelings is pretty simple, very much aligned to what we're trying to find out, is the retrace. So you've heard now from a couple of traders now that, between the 18 and the 21 level range is kind of the extremities of what this correction needs to be. We need to go and make yet another higher high. That is the area where I'm looking for the swing short as well, because then we can have a little bit of a longer retrace. And in addition to that, this is now is the time, because we're so close to a potential high, that we need to start thinking about what risk that we would want to take. The risk would be, am I going to start realizing some or farming some of the alts or the alt bags that I'm holding? Because if this happens, when we have got really good technical structures now, to say that we can expect maybe another 30% to retrace on most of the alts. And that's going to be an opportunity for you to then buy back a portion of your alt bag at a 30% discount for a longer term continued rally. I think also what was said really nicely is that by the time that the Fed decides to pivot, this will potentially be the apex of when people are going to really want to become extremely bullish. And it's at that stage where we really need to be a contrarian, same as Alessio, and think about the bearish narrative. Who would be taking the other end of those? And we should rather be the guys doing that at that stage. Bitcoin is due for additional rallies, potentially with a halving coming in 2024. But it means that leading up to the end of 2023, maybe the beginning of 2024, we might have our bigger time frame correction. So we can potentially expect this move, the beginning of this move, to maybe lead into a few more months. Right, guys, if you like the content, please hit the like and the subscribe button. It's a pity that we can't have Lee with us today. His internet from yesterday is still bombed out. But we'll hopefully have him back soon. Guys, as well, just take a moment to say a special thank you to our channel sponsors, PrimeXBT, bottom right-hand side of your screen, as well as Bybit and OKX. Should you want to support this channel, you're welcome to do so. Go and head over to our Discord channel. It's the top right-hand side of the screen. Scan the QR code and come and trade with us in our advanced trading group. PrimeXBT as well has an additional promotion. If you open your PrimeXBT account using the QR code at the bottom right-hand side of the screen, you can get access to the advanced trading group, which has daily bootcamp videos where we analyze the markets with you guys live. It's got a crypto and a forex trade scanner bot that runs and scans harmonic patterns that you guys can trade on setups, as well as custom drawing or technical indicators that we use in TradingView. All you need to do is just open this new PrimeXBT account, fund it, and PrimeXBT will actually sponsor your first month access. So you get to see and view what we're all about without any fees. Guys, I want to say thanks, and as always, no financial advice. It's purely our personal views as traders and fellow traders within the trading space. So please do your own research, your own due diligence, and make sure that to join in for the next one. We're going to have another guest coming soon. You guys have a lovely day, and as always, keep hustling, guys.
Keep hustling.